Hey, Morning Stars. I filmed this on Tuesday. The entire St. Louis region is kind of awaiting this verdict in the Michael Brown shooting. Kind of bated breath situation, right? Ferguson has become a household word, representing more than just a city. It's become synonymous with racial tensions and police brutality. Tensions have certainly been on a roller coaster for the past several months, but the pressure cooker seems poised to blow its proverbial top, or kind of regardless of the outcome. Our Governor Jay Nixon signed an state of emergency on Monday and activated the National Guard. Police officers throughout the region are standing on alert. Business owners in Ferguson have boarded up their storefronts, and most of the residents, quite honestly, are as scared as they are upset. So what's our response? What's our responsibility as followers of Jesus Christ? On the one hand, God calls his people to take a stand for justice, yet not without mercy. And that line isn't always clear, is it? It's kind of a blurring often of truth and grace working together. On the one hand, persons have to be held responsible for their actions. If Officer Wilson overstepped his authority and shot an innocent man, justice needs to be meted out. Yet I pray no one would want Officer Wilson to be convicted if he really didn't commit a crime, that he was pronounced somehow guilty just to pacify the crowds, kind of like Pontius Pilate washing his hands and caving to the bloodthirsty cries of the crowd who shouted, "Crucify him," to Jesus. So let me offer this maybe as a step forward. First of all, friends, just to recognize there are committed followers of Jesus Christ, people who love God, who love Jesus, on both sides of this issue. Those who see Officer Wilson's actions as criminal and those who view them as justifiable. Let's just not start demonizing one another. Instead, let's choose to let justice kind of take its course, trust that those who've heard the case from start to finish, taken in all the evidence and all the testimony and have weighed it out, are probably much more equipped to make that decision than we are. Our job is not to be the judge in this particular case or the jury. Secondly, our job is to pray for the truth to be known, for the persons in charge of making the decision to have the courage to act accordingly, and then to pray for peace in the aftermath. At this point, this seems like the biggest prayer of all, because I don't think many people are thinking that peace will win the day. Maybe the same 1% who actually thought the Rams would beat the Broncos this past Sunday, right? The vision I seem to be having is that of a powder keg with this big fuse coming out of it, just set to blow. And I'm praying that God would just kind of supernaturally pull out that fuse from the keg, and instead of Ferguson turning out the way everyone's expecting it to go, just like in the case of every other city in the past, that this might represent a true turning point in our history, that Ferguson might become synonymous with peaceful protest instead of violent criminal response. And then that we would pray for those who are charged with trying to maintain peace and order, the National Guard and law enforcement officers, to pray for their families who will no doubt be on pins and needles during every shift their loved one is serving. And we also pray for the community of Ferguson, the citizens there, the innocent bystanders who didn't ask for any of this incendiary event to engulf their community. For the folks who live nearby where the protest will no doubt be held. And finally, let me offer this, kind of our New Testament gospel challenge, which I believe speaks to the issue, that for followers of Jesus Christ, we're called to be ministers of reconciliation. And that can mean a lot of different things in a lot of different situations, but in this case, to be folks who reconcile, who stand for peace and unity, not on either side, but with, and hopefully serve as a bridge and a minister to both sides. See, the Apostle Paul writes in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, beginning at verse 16, "So from now on we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though once we regarded Christ in this way, we do so no longer. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ," that's us, "the new creation has come, the old has gone, the new is here. And all this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. Therefore, we are Christ ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. Please know that this week, friends, our pastor of missions and outreach, Jennifer Long, this week is in dialogue with local churches in Ferguson on how we can support them, their congregation, their communities during this difficult time. And as we know more, we will pass that information along. Hey, this is a huge week. It's a huge week for St. Louis, for Ferguson, for our nation. On a completely different note, it's a huge week for us here at Morning Star. As we prepare to bring our commitment cards to worship this weekend, hey, there's lots to be in prayer about. You know what? There's lots to celebrate. Because even amidst all the uncertainties of life, we can still thank God that he's on the throne and that he's sovereign and that he has this whole world in his hands. Remember that as you be the church this week, and I'll see you in worship this weekend. God bless you.